Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Life in Motion. My name is Grace Becker. I'm your host, and I'm also a licensed mental health therapist and enthusiast of life. And I am losing my train of thought because if you're watching, you will know why. Look at who I have with me. Oh, look at the camera. Oh. My little heart. This is my cat, Norman. He's definitely my snuggle bug. His nickname is Bug. And he has that name for a lot of reasons. Because one, he's a snuggle bug. Two, he loves to fuck with bugs. He likes to play with them, kill them, whatever, chase them. And he's just so cutey, like a little bug. So he will probably stay until he's not getting the sufficient amount of pets that he desires, requires. And then he'll move on. Maybe, Woody's poking his head in the bottom a little bit. But I also have my other cat down here, Woody. So we'll see if he makes himself known and shown to us. But yeah, hi everyone. I hope you all are doing well and having a nice Thursday. Oh, there Norman goes. Bye, Bug. Bye, Bug. He's like, okay, lady, if you're just gonna talk to no one and not give me the attention I need, then we're done. Today, we may be wondering what we're talking about. We are gonna be getting into how to get what you want. Yeah, we love that, don't we? So today's episode might be a little shorter because I'm going to be walking you through a skill called D.E.A.R. It is a DBT skill, dialectical behavioral therapy skill. It is kind of a way to get what you want. Basically, it's a very productive, respectful, informative, assertive way to get the things that you want. So I'm going to teach it to you and, take what works, leave the rest. But basically this is how it goes. So D.E.A.R. is an acronym for steps to take, if that makes sense. D.E.A.R. So D.E.A.R. is an acronym, and D stands for describe. So in that one, this is where you're going to describe the situation clearly and factually. So you're going to give all of your facts. So let's just say that you are wanting to ask your professor or your boss to give you more time on a project, right? So it can be applied in multiple ways. Kids could use this to ask to get their curfew extended. You could use this to ask your partner to take you on a vacation or to go on a vacation. You can really use it across the area, but I'm going to use the example of trying to get your professor or your work to extend your due date on a project you have to do. So D is to describe. So you're going to describe the situation clearly and factually. So you would say things like, this is the amount of work that I have gotten done so far. Like, this is what I have done. This is what I have left to do. You can describe, I know that this is the due date that you had originally given me. Yada, 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 right? So describe the situation clearly and factually, giving all the facts. Then you're going to get into E, which is express. So this is where you are going to express your feelings and opinions using I statements. So you could say things like, in my opinion, I have always been a very diligent worker. I have always been a very diligent student, and I would feel grateful. I would appreciate it if I could ... right? And then we'll continue down with the skill, right? But if you give it in an I statement, you're taking ownership of it, right? You're not placing it on another person versus when you were to say something like, you make me feel this way, or so on, right? So E is for express. And then we get into A. A stands for assert. Assert your needs or say no clearly. So this is when you are going to basically give your request. This is when you would say, I would appreciate it if I could receive a 1-week extension on this project. If I could receive 2-day extension on this project or this paper. Right, so this is when you're going to assert yourself. You're not going to kind of beat around the bush, right? Sometimes people do that. We know what we want, but we feel awkward asking for it, so we beat around the bush and what we need. Just assert yourself. You can say what you need, and it may feel confrontational. Doesn't mean it is, right? It is still respectful to assert yourself and say what you need. And then once you've asserted yourself, then you'll get into the R, which is reinforce. So this is when you're going to reinforce positive outcomes of getting your needs met. So if your professor or your boss gives you the 2-day, 1-week extension, this is when you are going to reinforce it with specific praise. And you'll say, thank you so much. I really do appreciate this extension. It's going to help me get this project done to the standards that our company deserves, that you deserve out of my paper, out of me, so to speak, right? So reinforcing it with specific praise is especially a very important thing, because it also recognizes what that person did for you, right? To kind of say thank you in a way. So that's the D.E.A.R part of it, right? So this is going to be kind of the what you're going to do, right? Is the D, describe, E, express, A, assert, R, reinforce, D.E.A.R. So this is what you're going to do. And then the M.A.N part of it is how you're going to do it. So M stands for mindful. So you want to be mindful of your goal and do not get distracted. So when you are asking your professor or your boss for this extension, do not get distracted by other agenda you may have. Stay mindful to your goal. Do not try and, again, beat around the bush and then get led into another conversation. Be mindful of your goal and also trying to stay on track with what it is you need to get done. And then A is to appear, and this stands for appear confident using things like your body language, eye contact, and tone of voice. So when you think about it, if someone's come to you or you go to somebody wanting something, are you going to really listen to what they have to say, or maybe respect them, or even necessarily give them what they want if their shoulders are slouched, if they are not looking at you in the eyes and they're just kind of like looking all around the room? Maybe they're like fidgeting, like looking down. Their tone of voice may be skewed some way. They don't seem very confident. Maybe they don't really know what they're asking for, right? So you might be less inclined to give them what they want, aka you are less likely to get what you want. So appear confident, right? Stand up tall, keep your shoulders back. Eye contact is very important, so maintain eye contact with the person, and also your tone of voice. So maintain a respectful level tone, especially if you're asking for something more serious, right? Sometimes, like, not all situations require a dear man, but right? You can tell for yourself, okay, where is a time that I might want to be really mindful about how I'm presenting myself in this thing that I'm asking for. So that is the A. The N in M.A.N is negotiate. So when you were asserting yourself, right, when you gave your request, it is good to note that you may be expected to negotiate, right? So negotiate if needed and be willing to give to get. So you may have heard that term, right? Like you have to give to get, right? Like you're more likely to get something if you give. So if you were to say to your boss or your professor, be like, hey, could I possibly get a 2-day extension, 1-week extension, and in turn, I will do this extra credit, or I will come and do work study hours, or I will come and I will work and pick up an extra shift, or I will do whatever, right? Like you're more likely to get it because you're also giving something. So that's one thing to note. You could use it as part of a negotiation tactic, right? So let's say you start off with, like, you'd be willing to settle for like a 1-day extension for this project, but you're going to try for a week, right? And you go to your boss, your professor, like, hey, can I get this 1-week extension? And they negotiate and they're like, like a week is kind of a long time. And then you might get behind on other projects. So like, I don't know about that, right? Like maybe they counter with like, how about like no extension? Then this is where you could use the giving to get as a tactic, right? So you can say, oh, okay, well, how about I do this extra credit, or how about I work this extra shift? And then would that work? And then, you know what I mean? And maybe you start with 1 week, but then you bring it down to 5 days, and then you bring it down to 3 days, and then eventually bring it down to maybe possibly the 1 day that you are willing to settle for, right? So you can negotiate if necessary. So basically that is what a Dear Man is, and that is how you can use it to get what you want. that's all I had for you guys really this week. I know, like I said, it was a short and sweet one. Hopefully you gained a new skill that you can use. If you liked what you heard today, or if you want to share it with somebody, please do leave a 5 stars, leave a review, leave a comment. But yeah, that's what I have. I post every Thursday, so please stay tuned in to hear all about Life in Motion. Shout out to my editor, Ben, for all that you do. And if anyone has any questions or wants to get a hold of me, you can follow those, my social medias down in the show notes below. But yeah, until next week, embrace the chaos and find the beauty. Bye.